Be talking about one of the most interesting concepts in logic, which is known as syllogism. Now there are many students who come about and ask, we have questions coming up in examination where there are two premises and one conclusion. What kind of questions are these? Are these questions related to teaching, research or logic? So first and foremost, we must understand any question which talks about premises and we are deriving a conclusion from it based on whether it is true or false. We are trying to understand a concept of logic. And this concept of logic, when we try to understand if there are two premises based on which we have a conclusion, or we can say we have three propositions and we are trying to find out a conclusion based on it, whether it is valid or it is invalid. Such a kind of prepositions where we are concluding a valid or invalid preposition is known as syllogism. Now, there are various types of syllogism problems. The most commonly being asked is those dealing with categories. So we call it categorical arguments, or we also call it categorical syllogism. These arguments are based on various categories. Now these categories can be in form of images, places, people or group of similar things. Now there are numerous videos and numerous material on net. If you try to search around, you would find numerous references for syllogism. But the main problem behind all the references is none of them clearly explains the real concept that lies behind the problems of syllogism. Now these problems, if we try to understand, around 20 to 50% of the problems would be solved by a simple logic, but there would be around 40 to 50% of the problems that would confuse you, and around 10% of the problems where you would be totally mismatched and you would try to say, why did I apply this logic and this logic fails. So it's a kind of hit and miss for most of the students when they try to solve such kind of problems. In today's class, what we would be discussing is the basics and the fundamentals of applying the concept of logic. We would be referring to a previous class that we have already done, which was based on square of opposition. And this class on syllogism we would be covering in three parts. In today's lecture, we would be covering the very fundamental of how to solve a problem with few basic unconditional cases. So we would be just discussing just three cases today. In the next class, we would be referring to other unconditional cases, valid cases. And thirdly, we would be dealing with conditional validity or conditionally valid cases. And this is again a kind of very confusing section for most of the students. So let's start with the square of opposition. Now in the square of opposition, what we had done in the previous session was a detail on what is square of opposition from the perspective of logic. Today from the perspective of philosophy, today we would be applying it to logic. So here we just need to understand the very fundamentals of a square of opposition. So this is a square of opposition. We denote it by A, E, I and O. We divide it into two sections perpendicularly. The above two are universally true and these are particular cases. The next classification that I do for a square of opposition is, I have the square of opposition and I divide it vertically into two. These are the affirmative cases or the positive cases and these are the negative cases. Now the easiest way to remember the square of opposition is, this A denotes with all. So if I say all are red, I am taking the same example that I used in my previous lecture on square of opposition. So here I am saying all are red, and this is again affirmative, but this is particular. So rather than using all, I am using some. So I am saying some are red. Here if I go, it's a negative statement with universal truth. So I am saying none is red. And here again it's a negative statement with particular. So some. So I am saying some are not red. Now this is the first and the foremost thing that you need to remember before solving any problem related to logic and related to syllogism. So all are red, none is red, some are red and some are not red. Based on this, we will form various combination of statements. So as I said, we have two premises and one conclusion. So there can be a case of say AAA. What does that mean? That means under premise 1, I am saying all birds are animals, and under premise 2, I am saying all animals are mammals. Under premise 3, I am saying all birds are mammals. So all the three cases I am saying all. So that's an example of AAA. If I use an example of AAI, what does that mean? Under the two premises I am using the word all, but under the conclusion I am using the word some. So this is the first thing we need to clarify in mind before we start with any problem. We try to solve any of the problems. So this is the first thing we need to understand. The second foremost thing we need to understand is the structure of the syllogism. Now under the structure of the syllogism, what I am trying to explain here is, I am trying to explain a premise which is major, a premise which is minor and a conclusion. Now how we derive which premise is major and which premise is minor? So under the conclusion, let's start with the very basic fundamentals of English language. If I say the sky is blue, in this case I have two nouns, sky and blue, but sky would be the subject and blue would be the predicate. Similarly, if I take the conclusion, I say all parrots are animals. So animals would be predicate here and parrots would be subject here. So what I am trying to do here is, under conclusion, whatever comes in the predicate is the major term. So that's the most important thing we need to remember. Whatever comes in the predicate of the conclusion is the major term. And this major term helps to form a major premise. Whatever comes as a subject of the conclusion is the minor term, and this minor term determines the minor premise. So what we are trying to do, we are trying to denote the major term with blue, minor term with orange and a common term with red. And throughout our lectures, all the three lectures that we would be taking, we would be using the similar set of notations for all the terms. So major terms would always be blue in our lecture, minor term would always be orange, and the term that would cancel out would be red. Now there are few things we must be clear in mind. Firstly, any problem of logic, never ever consider that a reality. What we only need to consider is the two premises that are given and that are true in all means. That means I cannot say in reality birds are not animals. Okay, so that is a kind, I am trying to cross check the reality here. So no issues of reality, whether it happens in reality or not. We only need to say that these two premises are true and the conclusion would be based on these two premises. What we have to do is just to find out whether this conclusion is true or not, whether this conclusion is valid or not. Now if we look at this structure of syllogism problem carefully, we have some interesting findings. There are three statements or three prepositions here, and there are three words. The three words are birds, parrots and animals. Another interesting thing is, with every statement there are just two words that are coming up. So either it would be bird or animals, parrot or birds, or parrots or animals. So just two words in all the three prepositions. So this is a kind of basic structure of Silk-Hollis problem that we need to be very clear. Now based on this, there are four varieties. So one thing that we talked about was a square of opposition. The next thing we would be talking about is how to solve this problem, and in which case the square of opposition cases would come out to be true. So this is a kind of a structure that we need to remember. That's the second thing. So I have four cases here. For the first case, the red denotes the cancelling term, S denotes the subject of the conclusion, and P denotes the predicate of the conclusion. So what I am trying to do is, I am trying to say all birds are animals, all parrots are birds. Based on that, I am deriving a conclusion, all parrots are animals. So as you can see, you have a blue term here, red terms that are being cancelled out here, and parrots here. So based on this, I have a conclusion that's here. Now if I want to draw it in these three forms, can I draw it? So that would be a very simple form of using it. So I can say all animals are birds. I can put birds at the last. So all animals are birds would be my first statement. My second statement would remain the same. All parrots are birds. All parrots are birds. And my conclusion would be all parrots are animals. I am not here at this point of time. I am not determining whether my conclusion is valid or invalid. At this point of time, I am just trying to form the structure of Silk-Hollis problems based on the four given cases. So if I have the same case here, I can say all birds are animals, all birds are parrots, and the conclusion can be all parrots are animals. So all birds are animals, all birds are parrots. So birds and birds common here, and you have animals and parrots, the predicate and the subject here. So I can say all parrots are animals, and lastly I can say all animals are birds, all birds are parrots, and again all parrots are animals. So that is the thing that I can say based on these four structures. A numerous set of videos on the internet, if you go through, would tell you when you are trying to solve Silk-Hollis problem. So if there is a structure or a problem like this, all birds are animals, all parrots are birds. So they would tell you to cancel birds and birds, the common words, and then join the remaining sentence, and that would be the correct answer. If this comes to be true, this would make all the four cases true. But in reality, all the four cases are not true. We would be understanding this further as we proceed in the class, how only few of the cases out of the given cases would turn to be true. So that's the first thing that you need to be very clear, that you cannot never ever cancel out the terms. That's never a correct way of solving a Silk-Hollis problem. The next important thing that you need to remember is, some of the tricks and some of the tutorials will tell you all plus all would always be all plus no would give you something, all plus some would give you something, and so on. Never ever blindly remember this and follow this rule. This would lead you to correct answers just in few questions and incorrect in lot of questions. So these two things, be very sure, never ever follow this method to solve the problems on Silk-Hollis. Now based on this, the only way I suggest to solve a Silk-Hollis problem is drawing a Venn diagram. And now that too, not an ordinary Venn diagram, a specific Venn diagram. So here again the connotation remains the same. We are using red for birds, we are using blue for animals, and we are using orange for parrots. So we are using the same connotation again. So you have red with birds, blue with animals, and orange with parrots. So that's again the same connotation we are using. So you have parrots, animals, and birds. Now that's the way we solve all the syllogism problems. Number of students can ask up a question, why do we use only this kind of syllogism problem? Why can't I use a Venn diagram where I show all A are B and all B are C? Can I draw a Venn diagram like this? So these kind of Venn diagrams which you try to draw by yourselves might lead you to correct answers in some of the cases, and as I said, incorrect answers in other cases. So what we try to do here is, if I say all parrots are animals, what does that mean? All parrots which are lying in this circle, which are intersecting with the circle of animals, would be all parrots are animals. So all the parrots would be lying in this section, So what I would do is, rather than marking the section which they cover, I would mark the section that would be cancelled out. So in this case, if I say all parrots are animals, I can keep this much region with me. In the next case, if I say all birds are animals, that means I can keep this region with me. So I will cancel out the remaining region. So I will mark only the region that I am trying to cancel out. If I say some parrots are animals. Now since this is some parrots are animals, where would I put this some parrots are animals? I can put it here, I can put it here. There can be, supposedly there are 10 parrots. If I say some parrots are animals, let's say this sum is 10 here, okay. So there can be 10 here in this intersection circle, there can be 10 in this, there can be case where there are 5 here, 2 here, 8 here, or any number of combinations. So I don't know which place they would fall. So always when we are using all, we are neglecting the remaining region, but when we are using some, we would be marking the region with X. So that would be our connotation throughout the class. So if I mark my region with X, what would happen here? Here I would mark it at the intersecting line. So it may be inside this, it may be outside this, or it may be in both, I don't know. So I have to decide that. Based on that, I can say whether I can proceed with this or not. Now, this was the basic convention or the picturization that we would be using throughout our classes. Now we would be doing very simple cases of syllogism problems, and we would be discussing just 3 broad cases today. The first is a kind of AAA preposition, where we are saying both the premises deal with all and the conclusion deal with all. In this case, I'll just let you know, this would be the only correct option and the remaining 3 would be incorrect. Now we'll try to solve this problem with this picture here. So I have the premises, all birds are animals. So this is bird and this is animals. So all birds fall under the category of animals. So red is birds, blue is animals. So it's very clear with this diagram. So I have all birds falling as animals. That means I am removing this section, and the remaining section I can say all birds are animals. Now in the second premise, I say all parrots are birds. So this is the circle of parrots and this is the circle of birds, and I say all parrots are birds. That means this region. So what I am doing is I am cancelling out this region. Now this region has been cancelled, this region has been cancelled. So the left out region is this. Based on this, if I conclude that all parrots are animals, So this is the circle for parrots, this is for birds, and this is for animals. Now if I conclude, all parrots are animals. So all parrots are falling into the circle of animals. That is correct. So this would be a correct conclusion. So all the parrots are lying in this region, and this region is coming under animals. So I can say all parrots are animals would be correct. So this conclusion would be correct. Now if I look at this problem again, you have M and M here, P and S here. So this would be a case, one type of example that I am saying. So I can say in AAA proposition 1 is correct. Today we would be taking 3 cases, and all the 3 cases would be the case of unconditional valid examples. We would be discussing conditional validity later on when we are clear with this concept. Now, to help understand this question in a more explicit form, I am taking the same example and I am just changing the configuration. So let's say this comes up. Now what we are trying to do here is, we will try to see what would be the result for this AAA preposition. So I say all parrots are animals. So this is parrots, this is animals, and this is birds again. I say all parrots are animals. So all the parrots fall under animals. So that would be this case. So I would be cancelling out the remaining region. In the second statement, I say all parrots are birds. So all the parrots would be birds. So I am considering this section. So I am cancelling out this region. Now can I say all birds are animals? There are some birds that are parrots also. So I cannot say all birds are animals. So this conclusion becomes incorrect. So and this is a kind of 3. So AAA3 becomes incorrect here. The next question is a kind of EAE case. E means negative statement with universal truth. So negative statement with universal truth, what does this mean? I have premise 1 which says no birds are animals, premise 2 which says all parrots are birds, based on which I am trying to draw a conclusion, no parrots are animals. So what I am trying to do here is, no birds are animals. So I have this as birds, this is animals, and this is parrots. So what I am trying to do here is, no birds are animals. So none of the birds are animals. That means I am trying to mark the region birds are not animals. So this region would be marked. So what I am trying to do is, I am trying to ignore this region. So birds and animals fall in this region. So this region I would cancel out. The next case I am saying all parrots are birds. So all the parrots are birds. So this region I need to take into account. The remaining region I am cancelling out. So that would be the cancelled out region. Now I say no parrots are animals. So the parrots left out are birds. They are not animals. That is a correct conclusion. So this conclusion comes up to be correct. And this is a kind of again preposition 1. So EAE, in case of EAE, 1 holds true and again 2 holds true. Let's discuss a case where EAE holds incorrect. So I have the same Venn diagram here. I say no birds are animals. So this region would be removed because here all birds are animals. Then I say all birds are parrots. So all birds are parrots. So what I would do is, I would remove the remaining region. That's this region. Now based on this, I am saying no parrots are animals. no parrots are animals. That is incorrect because here are the parrots which are animals. Here are the parrots which are birds. So I have parrots which are animals. So I cannot say no parrots are animals. That conclusion is incorrect. And this is a kind of preposition which is formed by 3. So I can say in case of EAE, 3 and 4 comes to be incorrect while 1 and 2 are true. Now let's take another example of square of opposition. In this case, I am taking an example of EII. So what does EII means? If I draw the square of opposition here again, I have I means sum. So I have all, some and some. So I have all parrots are animals, some birds are parrots, and based on that I am trying to draw a conclusion, some birds are animals. Now in case of EAI, what I am trying to do, I am saying all parrots are animals. That means I have parrots here, animals here, and birds here. What I am trying to do, I am saying all parrots are animals. So all parrots are animals. So this section would be ruled out. Okay. Next sentence, I am saying some birds are parrots. So there are some birds which are parrots. That means they are lying in this section because that is the only section left for birds and parrots. So as we said, we would mark some with X. So I am marking this with X. So I have some birds which are parrots. Based on that, can I say there are some birds which are animals? So these are some birds and these are animals also. They are falling into the circle of animals also. So I can say definitely conclude this. And now this is a case of 1. So in case of AII, 1 and 3 holds true, 2 and 4 are incorrect. So we have understood a correct example of AII proposition with case 1, and that comes to be true. Now let's refer to the another case which is incorrect. Now in this proposition again, it's a AII proposition. So you have all, some and some. So you have all, some and some here. What I am trying to say is, I am trying to solve these propositions. So I have first premise, all animals are parrots. So you have animals, you have parrots, and you have birds. What I am trying to do here is, all animals all animals are parrots. So all the animals would be parrot. So all the animals would be parrot. So this would be the section that would go off. In the next section, I am saying some birds are parrots. So some birds are parrots. Now birds and parrots, this is the intersection region. Now some birds are parrots. Let's say there are 10 birds which are parrots. So those 10 can be here, those 10 can be here, 5 here, 5 here, 2 here, 8 here, 2 here and 8 here. There can be any case. So I will draw a X in between these two. So I don't know whether they are lying here or here. So based on that, can I say some birds are animals? In this case, if I have all the 10 birds which are in this circle, in this region, can I say some birds are animals? I cannot say some birds are animals because there were just 10 birds and all of those 10 are in this region. So this region there is 0, there is nothing. So all birds are animals comes to be incorrect because this premise is not strong enough to help us explain that this region would be null or not. So when I mark a point here, I can say this X is dangling, it can be inside, it can be outside. So I cannot say whether the condition would be valid or not. I cannot say that this condition would be or this conclusion would be a valid conclusion. So therefore, we can say some birds are animals is incorrect statement because all the birds can be here and then there would be no birds here. So in this case, what would happen would be that there would be no birds which are animals. So that becomes incorrect. and here we have taken the example of 2. So that is a kind of preposition which is 2. So in case of AII, what happens is 1 and 3 holds to be true and 2 and 4 holds to be incorrect. So these were the 3 fundamental unconditional conclusions which were valid, which we have discussed. We would be discussing further unconditional cases in